Cocaine involves money. Smugglers buy a Boeing 727, an old one, for about 107 million like that. They load it with tons of cocaine, and it lands in the Moroccan desert. After unloading the goods in Morocco, they sell it all in Europe, and they either burn or abandon the plane in the desert. This is what Roberto Saviano said in his famous book called Camorra. This book was going to get him killed. Roberto was put under heavy security protection by the Italian government. He couldn't leave his house without guards. This is all because he talked about the world's biggest criminal organization in his book. The Brotherhood of Camorra is an Italian mafia. What made this author mention Morocco several times in his book? What is the relationship between this mafia and Moroccans and Algerians? This is what we'll learn in this episode from the origin and history theories. It's true, they are one of the oldest mafia groups in history. They originated in Naples, the third largest city in Italy. Now listen carefully. In the 20th century, gambling was prohibited in Italy, and those who were caught gambling were arrested by the police. However, no matter the time, there are always people who are passionate about something, like gambling, and they can't resist it. Here's where a group called La Camorra, consisting of roughly a quarter of the population, comes into play, around 6 people. They approach the gamblers and say, "You keep gambling for yourselves, and we'll provide you with protection from the police. We'll be stationed nearby, and if the police come to raid, we'll offer you complete protection. You just keep gambling, and in return, you'll pay us money." Is there anything else you'd like me to translate or explain? This is how the story of La Camorra began, and we cannot say that this is the first time the name La Camorra was recorded in history. It started with a small group, as I mentioned, protecting gamblers and later protecting traders. If someone wanted to engage in trade in Naples, they were told, "We'll protect your trade for you, just pay us a little." Eventually, they turned to theft and extortion, stealing here and there, and they evolved. Over the years, they transformed from a gang of only the poor and unsuccessful into an organized crime syndicate. They had a hierarchical structure, meaning there was a pyramid hierarchy. At the top, there was the boss, followed by those with money, those with power, those involved in fighting, and followers. The most important thing in their system, or what kept La Camorra going, was something that increased in their pyramid hierarchy, which is the new generation to ensure the gang's continuity. Like we Moroccans say, teach your child the book so that the gang keeps growing. The gang continued to thrive over the years, to the point that in the 20th century, it had infiltrated government positions, bought off the police force, and essentially controlled the entire city of Naples. Naples, which is considered the third largest city in Italy and one of the largest cities in all of Europe, was under the influence of the gang. Everything was going well until the Second World War, when the city of Naples was heavily damaged during the war. The Italians, as a whole, suffered greatly during World War II. Is there anything else you'd like me to translate or explain? And here, the La Camorra gang had to adapt. Their city was in ruins, and they had no choice but to find new ways to operate. Where would they conduct their activities? How would they continue their trade? How could they handle their finances? In Naples, Italy, which we don't call La Camorra, Camorra itself had a stronghold in Naples during that time. The city was in ruins, as I mentioned earlier. The people in that city had to rely on one thing: the sale of cigarettes. Everything was being sold in the streets, or at cheap prices, especially in the markets, where they were smuggling cigarettes. These cigarettes were smuggled from